There is a monster in the deep ocean, and it is real. It grows longer than a school bus. Its eyes are the size of dinner plates. Its beak can cut through steel cable. Its 8 arms and 2 tentacles are lined with hundreds of toothed suckers. For 2,000 years, sailors called it the Kraken, the beast that dragged whole ships beneath the waves. Everyone else called it a myth. They were wrong. It was down there the entire time, hunting in total darkness, locked in battle with sperm whales, a mile below our boats. The most legendary monster in the sea was a real living animal, all along. And for almost all of human history, no one had ever seen it alive. Our cameras were too loud, too bright. It always saw us coming and slipped back into the black. Until one quiet red light finally drew the monster out of the dark, and for the first time, it looked back. Long before anyone had proof, the ocean already had a name for the thing in the deep: the Kraken. In the cold seas, the Norse sailors told of an island that was not an island. A great back breaking the surface, ringed by snaking arms that could reach above a ship's railing and pull it under in seconds. When it dived, they said, it dragged the sea down with it, opening a whirlpool that swallowed everything nearby. In the 1700s, a bishop in Norway wrote the legend down as fact, describing a creature 1.5 miles. 100 years later, the poet Tennyson gave it a darker shape, a thing sleeping far below the thunder of the upper deep. And when Jules Verne sat down to write the most famous undersea adventure ever told, he reached for the same monster. His giant squid wraps the submarine Nautilus in its arms and tears a man straight off the deck. Readers shuddered. They also assumed it was pure invention. For most of human history, the Kraken sat on the same shelf as the mermaid and the sea serpent, a story to frighten children. There was just one problem. Unlike the mermaid, the Kraken kept leaving pieces of itself behind. The evidence had been there all along, for anyone willing to look. The whalers knew it best. When they cut open the great sperm whales they hunted, they found the beaks by the hundreds, sometimes the thousands. Hard, curved, parrot-like jaws, the indigestible remains of something the whales were eating in enormous numbers far below. And across the whales' huge heads ran those circular scars, the print of suckers lined with teeth, left by prey that had fought back. Then, on rare and unforgettable days, the thing itself appeared. In 1873, in the cold water off Newfoundland, 2 fishermen and a boy were checking their nets when something rose beside their small boat. A huge, dark mass, and a beak and an arm that reached for them out of the water. In a panic, the boy hacked at it with a small axe and cut the limb away. The creature sank back into the deep. What he carried home was a single severed tentacle, 19 feet long. A local minister named Moses Harvey understood at once what he was looking at. Soon after, he got hold of a whole specimen from local fishermen, draped its tangled body over the rod of his bathtub, and photographed it. That strange image traveled around the world. For the first time, people could see the monster laid out in plain daylight. The scholars who had laughed now had to give the thing a name. They called it simply the giant squid. So, what is it, this animal that hid in plain sight for so long? The giant squid is a hunter, built on a scale that barely seems possible. The largest ever reliably measured stretched close to 40 feet, from the tips of its fins to the ends of its longest tentacles. 8 muscular arms surround its mouth. 2 longer feeding tentacles shoot out to seize prey. At the center of all those arms sits the one truly hard part of its soft, boneless body, a beak like a parrot's, sharp enough to bite clean through wire. But the most haunting feature is the eye. The giant squid has one of the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom. As wide as a dinner plate, more than 10 inches across, bigger than the eye of any whale, bigger than the eye of any dinosaur. An eye that size is enormously expensive to grow and to carry, and evolution does not hand one out for nothing. It is there to gather the faintest light in a place that has almost none. The scars on the whales tell us something extraordinary. Somewhere below us all the time, the 2 largest hunters in the deep ocean are at war. The sperm whale is the giant squid's great enemy. It dives deeper than almost any other mammal. Half a mile, sometimes more, holding its breath for the better part of an hour, sometimes far longer, as it drops into total darkness. Down there, it cannot see, so it hunts by sound, firing out clicks and listening for the echoes, building a picture of the blackness in front of it. The squid hunts the other way, by light, with those vast eyes drinking in the faint glow of the whale's approach. We know these battles happen because we can read them on the bodies left behind. The rings of sucker scars on the whales, the mountains of beaks in their bellies. A single sperm whale can swallow more than 1,000 squid in a single day, almost all of them small. But now and then, it takes on the giant. The animal that terrified sailors for 2,000 years turns out to be, for the largest predator on the planet, just another meal. By the end of the 19th century, the giant squid was an accepted fact of science. Museums had specimens pale and pickled behind glass. Textbooks carried its measurements. Everyone agreed it was real. And yet something absurd was still true. No one had ever seen a healthy one alive. Every giant squid anyone had ever examined was a corpse, washed up dead on a beach, dying at the surface where it did not belong. The living animal, moving through its own world, doing the things it actually did, remained a complete blank. We had the body. We had never met the creature. The deep itself was the reason. The giant squid lives 1,000 feet down, and far below that, in permanent darkness. Our machines were loud and blazing with light. And with the largest eyes on Earth, it saw us coming. It saw us coming every single time, and slipped back into the black long before we ever arrived. For more than 100 years after we gave it a name, the giant squid stayed a ghost. We were hunting the most elusive giant on Earth, with the clumsiest possible tools. The first breakthrough came from a Japanese scientist named Kubodera, a man who had spent his life studying the squid. His idea was simple and patient. If you want to find the giant squid, Stop chasing it. Go to the place where the sperm whales go to feed, because the whales already know where the squid are. Then lower a baited line deep into that water, hang a camera above the bait, and wait. In the autumn of 2004, off the islands south of Japan, he did exactly that. His line hung nearly 3,000 feet, down in the darkness. And then, far below, a giant squid rose up and attacked the bait. For more than 4 hours, the animal struggled on the line. And the camera fired again and again, capturing over 500 photographs. A living giant squid, arms thrown wide, lunging in its own habitat with a mile of black water above it. At last, the squid tore itself free, leaving a length of its own tentacle behind on the hook. The scientist who broke through that last barrier was an American named Edith Witter, and her great idea was about light. Witter had spent her career studying bioluminescence, the living light that fills the deep ocean, where countless creatures glow and pulse and flash in the dark. She understood something the others had missed. We had been trying to film a deep-sea animal by blasting it with exactly the kind of harsh white light that does not exist down there, the kind every creature in the deep has learned to flee. So she built the opposite, a camera system she called the Medusa, that gave off only a dim red light, a color most deep-sea animals cannot even see. And instead of bait, she offered a lie made of light, a ring of blue lights she named the electronic jellyfish, designed to imitate a real jellyfish flashing in distress. In the deep, that frantic burst of light is a kind of scream. It means something is being eaten nearby, and to a large predator, it means dinner might be close. In 2012, off the coast of Japan, the trap finally worked. Out of the perfect blackness drawn in by a glowing lie, a giant squid rose into view, its huge body shining in the soft red light, its arms reaching for the camera. For the first time ever, the world was watching a living giant squid move through the deep, alive in its own world. You might think that, having finally filmed it, we would have unlocked the giant squid's secrets. We have not even come close. In 2019, the same trick worked again, this time in America's own waters, in the Gulf of Mexico, about 100 miles off the coast of Louisiana. That quiet red camera and its glowing lure drew a young giant squid out of the dark. Its tentacles unfurled toward the lens, then snapped back, and it was gone. Only the second time the animal had ever been filmed in the deep, the first time ever in American waters. A creature that enormous, that close to home, and we had never once seen it there before. And still, almost everything about how it actually lives remains a mystery. We have never seen a single moment of it. Think about what that means. We have filmed a living giant squid in the wild only a handful of times in all of human history. We have never watched one mate, or lay its eggs, or run down its prey. We do not know how long they live, or how many of them are out there, gliding through the dark beneath the shipping lanes at this very moment. The Kraken was never a myth. It was simply living somewhere we could not follow.